Yo, what are you doing right now? We are going to get real about men's issues, who Jesus is, and who we are as men in Christ. We're going to hear Trey, Jeremy, Michael, and Brad break it down. These guys call themselves the Cussin Christians. All right, guys, what is going on?
All the actors.
The Sandlot crew.
That's a movie when it comes on. I got a handful of movies that I'll just stop and I'll just start watching it, and that's one of them.
What year did that movie come out?
It's
At
30
least
years ago?
20,
early
30
90s,
years ago.
94,
Early
I think.
90s? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was married and just out of college and had a young child at that time. We didn't have a TV the first 7 years we were married, so I didn't watch it.
You didn't have a TV the first 7 years you were married?
No.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Didn't miss much. I mean, I've never watched, I think I've watched one episode of Seinfeld. I've never watched an episode of Friends. Like, we just missed all that. But we were so, raising Lauren was like 4 or 5 years old, and we were super involved in church stuff. So much of the 90s I missed out on.
Well, like you had dinner parties and stuff.
No, I mean,
Super Bowl parties,
Yeah.
like last night. What'd you do for Super Bowl? Went over to
hung
someone
out.
else's house? Okay, Cowboys were in the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
What did you do during those years you didn't have a TV and the Cowboys won 3 out of 4 years?
We
Went down to the bar.
You went down to the bar.
No. When we moved to Tulsa, I went over to my parents' house and watched it.
All right.
And she was like 3 years old. I mean, she knew who Emmitt Smith was when she was like 2.
There you go.
So.
I had the joy of delivering pizza to Emmett
Oh, really?
up in Gainesville when I was
Nice.
with Domino's Pizza.
That's cool.
Yep, we delivered pizza to Emmett every weekend.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Was it one or a
Oh,
dozen?
a bunch to the dorms. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. He was a huge Domino's fan.
One a
30 minutes
night
or
or
less?
dozens a night?
It was a lot. It was stacks. And, he was the man there and obviously the record-holding man in
Yes.
the NFL. Amazing dude.
The key to his success was what goes back to Domino's.
All the way.
Yeah.
All the way
Pizza.
back.
Pizza for
No
sure.
doubt. No doubt.
I got a question. How come we never see Chinese food commercials? Have you ever seen one?
Don't think I have.
Nope.
Never thought about it.
There's a great question.
We needed to ask our restaurateur.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking yesterday, all these commercials and then all the local commercials. I never see.
Maybe they don't need to. They're popular enough.
Well, that's true, I
are full.
guess. Maybe
Did you see the He Gets Us commercials last
Yeah,
night?
we gotta talk about
Several.
that.
There's some controversy on
There,
that.
yeah.
We could do a whole podcast just on that.
I know. We'll bank that for another day.
I think so. A lot of these commercials aren't even clever or funny anymore.
No.
It's kind of like the cool kids in high school. Whenever there was a talent show and you just had like the cool kids were up there and they weren't funny or talented, but because they were cool, people were like, yeah. Half the commercials were just full of celebrities.
Yeah.
And just like weird, crazy stuff happening. And it's like, well, what was that about? Like it wasn't even good. It was just like all these A-list celebrities, and here's a dinosaur, and now here's a spaceship, and it's just like one after another, man. It's just
That's
like,
what it's turned into. It's a circus.
yeah.
Did you notice the alien theme kept coming up all night last night in all those ads?
Because, that's going to be the story when we all.
When we get raptured, it's going to be aliens.
that took us.
They're setting us up right now.
You could see the players were they were so ready to play the game. And
I
there were
know.
like 3 songs, and then they had a video to introduce the honorary coin toss captains. And it was like literally like 40 minutes.
You had 2 national anthems.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that
That's
one
another
day.
podcast. But you could just see the guys like they were just like
Yeah.
going, oh, come on. It's not about the game anymore. 50% game, 50% promotion, propaganda, and whatever else you want to squeeze in there.
All right, so 29 weeks till football starts. That means we got guy stuff to talk about. We're going to make things up. We're going to have a lot of fun. Sheffy's sick, and we had planned to bring in our brother.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a little congestion and a sore throat.
Super Bowl hangover.
Super Bowl hangover. But we got Chris here today. Brother Chris is just a servant brother at heart. You won't find anyone better in our community that through him and his businesses support those that are in need. And we're just thrilled to have him here because, number one, he's got a really cool story. And he owns a couple of great restaurants here in town, Pizza Gallery and Grill in 28 North, and has put together an amazing support system for those that work in the restaurant and entertainment business called Hospitality Life. Chris Coneen, thank you. That was a long setup for you to come on board and join us today, brother.
Trey, thanks. I'm on the Cussin Christian podcast. That's right. This is like big time. I've made it.
But dude, I'm so glad you're here. You have your fingers in so many things in our community, and you've helped our ministry out with some of the things, and you're going to be helping us out with Tim Tebow, Zach Williams last year, Mike and Tyler, and just your helping of local churches and organizations. What stirs this servant heart inside of you?
Honestly, it's a spiritual gift. If you've ever taken one of those spiritual gift, tests or classes or courses, faith and hospitality are my number 1 and 2. And faith just comes natural to me, and hospitality is the second natural gift. So it's unconscious, and it's awesome. I love serving others. It's hard for me to be served. I love serving others so hard. I love serving others so much that it's hard for me to allow others to serve me.
One of the things I love about you is I see the respect that your employees have, because, trust me, I probably put a couple of your daughters through college with the amount of money.
Yes, thank you, Michael.
Good job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We were all at the Gastropalooza event a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
man.
There, the avenues of Vieira, and there were hundreds of people, just wall-to-wall people, and I could tell it was your gift, because you were so effortlessly walking around and just making sure everybody was taken care of. Yeah, I was going to say, I'd be super stressed by that. And so it's cool to see somebody operating in their gift and to see how much that benefits other people.
Amen.
Because really, you've got a ministry, and you probably have a lot of people in your circle that work with you and for you that are recovering, and that you're able to feed into them.
Yeah.
What does that look like? You guys have weekly meetings, or how do you pour into them?
From a business place, we have meetings on Mondays today. So we'll have one at 12:30 and one at 1:30 for both the restaurants and the whole management team, leadership team. We have a Sweet 16 team at Pizza Gallery, and we have an Elite 8 team at 28 North. And of course, the March Madness is around the corner, so it's kind of where we got it from. But 16 leaders at all different levels participating in forecasting and, people, profits, and projects. Kind of the 3 Ps for us to talk about. But it is a ministry for sure.
35 years you've been a resident of this county. There was a time you weren't such a servant.
Sure, I was.
And
I was serving myself.
You were serving yourself.
I'm a almost 55-year resident of Brevard and 35 years in the restaurant business. But I grew up in Melbourne Beach, and my dad built a house on 5th Avenue in Melbourne Beach. He was a contractor, built our own houses, and this house happened to be in between 4 other houses with teenage surfing boys, that were a little bit older than me, and back then in the 70s and 80s, it was all they did was smoke pot and drink and, just hang out at the beach. And so that's kind of what I was surrounded by at the age of about 10 years old. So it was a pretty young influence on me. And one thing led to another. And, when I was 15 years old, a bale of pot floated up right behind my house, just
Try to forget
I thought it was a gift,
That's like a movie scene.
Thank you, Jesus.
You're done. You're done serving for the day, and boom. What's that floating in
we
the
had
water?
just started surfing, and but it was like Fast Times at Melbourne High School,
There you go.
It was, and it was just one of those lucky, I don't know, just turning points, and that steered me in another direction. And then, a couple years later, buddy found a kilo of cocaine, and that steered us in another direction. So it was just one thing led to another, and I didn't know what I didn't know. Period. Young, naive, having fun. But my parents were great parents. They tried to steer me in the right direction. We did church on the main holidays, of course. We're the Creasters, or whatever you want to call them, Christmas and Easter, and every once in a while.
Never heard of that one.
But it was a long, slow evolution of alcohol and drugs. Just partying innocently until it just progressed. The disease of alcoholism is a progressive disease that nobody really realizes they have it until it's too late, and you got it. And it usually,
it's socially acceptable to be walking around with a drink in your hand.
And alcohol for me just took away all the inhibitions.
Right.
All of them. Everything. The door was open to do anything. There was no conscience. It was, 2, 3, 4 drinks, and then there was, 10 in me. And then it was whatever, everything's free game from there. I was blessed, just really on the outside, parents in a nice place on the ocean, and surfed and talented and athletic, and, played football and soccer and baseball and basketball. I mean, those were the days when you could play all the sports as a youth, and we competed and we won the Southeast Regionals as a, 15-year-old soccer team down in Melbourne Beach, and just had a lot of success, at an early age. And I was one of the leaders at 15 years old, and I was ignorant and naive to how it was impacting others around me. I thought it was okay. I thought everybody does this, right? We're just having fun. I'm not hurting anybody else. And, keep doing that long enough and you'll end up hurting other people like I did, or you'll end up getting in trouble or end up breaking something. And that's what happened. 20 years of using was long enough to hurt a lot of people.
Well, I mean, I remember my parents would go to these parties and they drank. My dad had a keg of beer in the garage fridge with the tapper on the outside. And I just stick my mouth on the outside of that sucker, So it was socially acceptable.
Just had a terrible memory of my dad. He sponsored a rugby team back then with his contracting business. And we lived in South Melbourne Beach, had this beautiful house on the river down there and this big wooden deck. And he's having this keg party for the rugby team, right? And we're teenagers and we're hanging out and we're sneaking whatever we could sneak around. In the meantime, we're having fun making Molotov cocktails.
Oh, no.
So, we're taking some of the empty beer bottles and putting gasoline and rags in them, and we're making these Molotov cocktails and just having fun with them. Well, then my youngest brother at the time was 10 years younger, so he was probably like 5 years old. He went and got a hold of one of the Molotov cocktails and drank it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Yikes.
So now it was off to the emergency room, 911, and not a good thing, not a good constructive use of our time, just thought we were just having fun. And next thing you know, my brother's in the hospital and he's fine, but we weren't fine. My dad took very not good on that one.
The conversations with your dad at that time when you're going through this and he's seeing it, I mean, was it volatile? Was it, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was constructive. I mean, he's a Marine, disciplined, entrepreneur, just an amazing dad, and trying his best to steer me in the right direction.
Yeah.
And my independent will, self-will, just had run a little riot. And he would keep trying to course correct me. And, it was physical. I mean, I got pinned up against walls and, it was tough. I know one of the toughest times in his life was when I was 17 years old, and he had come home unexpectedly when they were supposed to be out of town, and I was at the house with some friends, and we had a whole bunch of drugs and alcohol all across the tables and everywhere, and they came home unexpectedly. And it was my mom, actually, that came home and found us and caught us. And then she made the first call to him. And when he got home, he had a hammer in his hand. He was a contractor. And the hammer wasn't used for, the 2x4 and the nail. It was coming after me. And it was scary. He was mad. He was irrationally mad, or maybe even rationally mad. But just scared the heck out of me. And it was 3 days later that I was in high school at the time, a senior, and my parents said, we're going to go see this counselor. And I'm like, okay. I knew it was time, that I needed to abide or concede to something they wanted me to do to get better. I didn't really want to get better, but I wanted to appease them so I could at least still live with them and, be okay. And we drove towards Orlando to go to this counselor, and it was like, this is a long ways away. And then we kept going past Orlando and ended up in St. Pete. I was like, we're going to, they're like, this is the best counselor in Florida. I'm like, okay. So we walk into this room, kind of like this, but just 4 white walls. And
Did you have a jacket on?
Well, as soon as I walked through the door, these two big teenage boys were standing between me and the door, and there was this one table sitting there, and I'm like, okay, it's a weird counseling feeling. It's not warm and fuzzy. It's white and cold, and I was like, I had no idea, but I was sitting in Straight Incorporated. It was a drug rehab, one of the best in the nation at the time. And, they said, Chris, do you think you have a drug problem or an alcohol problem? And I'm like, no, just recreational use. And they're like, okay, well, your parents think you do have a problem, and you probably just need to check out our program. And, if you hang out here for 2 weeks, you can go home in 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, I can do something for 2 weeks. It's not a big deal. It was 9 months later.
Oh, my word.
Holy cow.
So 9 months later,
Is that because of you?
Yeah, and then the program wasn't really a 2-week program.
And this was during your senior year?
I was a senior in high school, and I just disappeared from Melbourne High School. I mean, all my buddies and friends and girlfriends, and they're just like, one day Chris Coneen was there, and the next day he was gone.
Wow.
So it was 9 months of rehabilitation, and it was a blessing in disguise. I learned, the 12 steps of AA. I learned about higher power. I learned about their version of God, But I started to learn and know a little bit more about a spiritual aspect of my life, because my parents had raised me Catholic, and we went to church occasionally, and there was a confession booth, that you're supposed to go tell somebody else about what you did wrong. But I really didn't understand all that. It was like me talking to somebody else that would talk to God.
Yeah,
I knew there was a God, but there was no relationship. So the rehab started that relationship journey, which was a blessing, but it was also a bitter thing to get yanked out of high school. Senior, I was on top of the world and thought I was cool, and then I wasn't.
Were you still attending a school in the area where the rehab was? Or?
Yeah, after about 3 months of that initial detoxing and all the other stuff that I had to be stripped down, mentally and not physically but spiritually, and just be broken and come to a place that I really admitted, that first step that they talk about, admitting that I have a problem, admitting that I'm powerless, that everything I tried to do to quit, which I really didn't try up until then, I just couldn't do this on my own. I needed help.
How hard was it for those words and that thought process to click in your brain to admit it?
Honestly, at 17, I signed myself in, but as soon as I did, I was 17 and I couldn't get out on my own because I was a minor. So my parents had to come get me if I wanted to be out of there. They probably wouldn't have anyway. So how hard was it to say that? It wasn't hard because I was living a lie. I was totally 100% doing this for my parents. I would say anything and do anything. Just let me get out of here and go home. So, you want me to say I'm a druggie, I'm an alcoholic, I'm whatever. I'll say I'm whatever you want me to say. Just let me go home. So that was easy, and it was 9 months of being in there, and ended up. Again, I think my gifts, my God-given gifts of, hospitality and faith and some leadership skills that led me to counseling in this rehab and getting other kids off of drugs for about another 6 months. But eventually I started justifying some of my behavior because I really didn't think I was a druggie or alcoholic or had a problem. I just admitted it for other people. And it was about a year and a half later that I was relapsing and drinking while I was counseling other kids off drugs.
Wow.
So I was going down a road of self-destruction. I was definitely, I was in bad shape, at 17. And it only got worse later when I relapsed.
Right. So walk me through that. So 9 months. When you walked out of those doors and you came back here, correct?
Yeah, I was living in Orlando. The rehab I had helped start actually from St. Pete. They put another sister location in Orlando, and I helped them launch that location and was the senior staff counselor there for about 6 months. until I started relapsing and then got caught.
While you were doing that, this counselor, did you feel like a hypocrite at all inside, or were you totally sold in to I'm helping others, but I know deep inside I'm still fighting this temptation?
Or is it they've got a problem I don't?
Honestly, it was the peculiar mental twist. They write about Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson in the Big Book of AA. An alcoholic's mind has a peculiar twist about it. And you would think that my conscience would feel guilty. Here I am counseling other kids to get off drugs, and I'm going out and drinking and smoking and doing whatever I want to do. But I'm helping those kids. So the rationalizing is a part of the alcoholic drug. I mean, and it's not even just that. If you sex abuse or food abuse or money or whatever, pick your poison, pick your vice. People rationalize it's okay. I'm not hurting anybody else. I'm just gonna do it at night, or I'm just gonna drink beer now and not booze, or just rationalize whatever you're doing. So I didn't feel bad at all. I thought it was okay. I thought I was doing okay. That's how crazy my human brain and brokenness was justifying.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you started getting a grasp of, while you were going through the 9 months and then moving over to the Orlando facility, you started having a little revelation. This is something deeper than you. You said spiritually you were awakened a little bit, like there's something different here I haven't thought about before, right? Is that what?
Yeah, I mean the 12 steps of AA mentioned God 5 times.
Right.
So the God factor was already in my life, being raised Catholic.
Right.
It was just not relational. And the 12 steps really started to help me have a relationship, a conversation, admitting to him and to others, confessing and making amends, doing an inventory, and then helping others, figure that out as well.
Yeah.
So it was getting caught again. That was the embarrassing, okay, here we go again.
Right.
And then it was, well, how are we going to fix this? And my parents were like, well, you can go through a refresher course, with this same rehabilitation center, but up in Cincinnati. So they shipped me off to Cincinnati for a 6-week kind of fast course through relapsing. And
were you 18 at all during that time?
I was 19 at that. 18,
okay.
Yeah.
But you still went. So something inside you was saying.
Again, it was for my parents.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Really.
You could have been so rebellious and said.
Yeah, I respected them, and I don't know. Maybe it was just unconscious. I knew what I was doing was wrong, but my self-conscience was rationalizing it.
Right.
So the Holy Spirit in me was for sure, just trying to hold on to me, for sure. And there was part of me that wanted to stop and part of me that didn't think it was that bad.
Right.
Until it continued to progress and get worse.
Isn't that how us men justify our behavior? It's not just alcohol and drugs. It's porn. It's sex addiction.
Pick your poison. Right?
Abuse. Whatever it is. It's like, we justify it.
Cincinnati, you relapsed. You're in Cincinnati going through that program. What's life look like since you left there? I mean, how long did this struggle go with the substance?
I went for
into more of your adult life.
Went for another 7 years. So until I was 25, I had opened up my first business already. First pizza gallery and grill in downtown Melbourne when I was 21 years old. And
wow, can you imagine starting your own business like that with 21? Wow.
Drinking and drugging, in a controlled type. At least I thought I was controlling it. I wasn't drinking or drugging before work. It was after work. I wasn't, going out partying. I was just constructively. I don't know what the word is. Really. Controlling my abuse, controlling my
functional alcoholic.
Thank you, Michael. That's what I was looking for. Very functioning. Had 3 cars and a boat and a business and on top of the world.
Yeah.
21, 22, 23 years old, having a great time.
Wow.
So you weren't at your lowest point because you had money.
For me, it was in a hospital, beaten. I had been mugged and robbed and beaten, in a drug part of town, to the point where I was in the hospital. I was kind of on my deathbed. I mean, I was ugly. My face was beaten, and if it had been in the 2000 era, I probably would have been dead because they'd have had a gun and not their fists, So it was really an ugly time for me, realizing, like, here I am again, at another crossroads, and, it's not 17, it's not 20, or 19, it's 23, 24 years old. When is this going to stop? And next time, is it going to be worse, I do know a good friend of mine that I did a lot of young, fun, dumb stuff with. I had gotten sober about 5 years before me. And I don't know if he was praying for me, but I know he was at my hospital bed. That morning I woke up out of, unconsciousness and just looked at me and said, "Are you done?
Mm-hmm. Are you done?
Are you done?"
And you knew exactly what he was talking about.
Oh, yeah. And he had gotten sober 5 years before that and was doing really well and just looked good and felt good. The energy in his face and his smile and everything about him was different than the guy I knew that I had been running with and partying with and drinking with and having fun with. He was different, but he looked the same. I mean, he just looked better. Right. He just said, "Are you done?" And
Were you done?
I was done. Okay. At that point, I was done. Yeah, I was broken, beaten, physically and mentally and spiritually. I had hit a bottom that didn't feel good, and it was enough of a 2x4 upside the head finally that God had spared my life, had definitely kept me around for something, better, I hope. But it was ugly. It felt embarrassing and remorseful, and it was just a bottom.
We kicked it off by saying we're walking in this, not even thinking twice about the depravity we're walking around in. It doesn't hurt, but after that day, when that depravity finally hit you, that I'm here. If it's like me, it changed instantly, and not that it was an instant cure, but I just noticed inside of me I felt different moving forward. Did you experience that as well?
Yeah, with the people that I started surrounding myself with, for sure.
Yeah.
That was big. That was the biggest, best decision. Obviously, some mentors, sponsors, friends that had been down the road I had been already and had some relational, they could relate to what I had been through. And they were wiser and further down the, program of AA, right, say, in the 12 steps, and they were sharing that wisdom and strength and experience with me. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't an aha awakening for me. It was a journey for sure. Mm-hmm. A couple of sponsors that really helped me peel back some of the layers that I didn't know were there.
Right.
It's a process. It was the Holy Spirit working through me and another man, and a lot of conversations that definitely helped the journey along. And
when did Robin come into play?
Oh, right.
Come on, we got to go
in
to
high
the
school. Yeah, she saw the bad side of me.
Yeah,
was out. We went out on one date in high school, and she dropped me, dumped me.
Hell no,
she's like,
no way.
Yeah, she knew that my priorities were. Yeah, I mean, just my priorities were whacked. You know, it was all about me. It was self-serving. Mm-hmm. Just let's go have fun for me, and everything I did had a motive or an agenda to better me. And so yeah, she knew. And then we went separate ways, and she moved to California and got married and had our oldest daughter. She had her first daughter, Madison, who's now my daughter too.
Amen.
And then that marriage didn't work out. She came back to Melbourne, and a good friend of ours connected us at my first restaurant, and it was magic, you know. And she definitely helped foster the spirit in me, the love and the accountability, and just my better half, you know.
Tell us about your inspiration for hospitality life. What did that look like?
It was in 1995 that my pastor of Suntree United Methodist, Gary Spencer, invited me up to Willow Creek for a global leadership summit. What an amazing experience. A couple of spiritual awakenings I had while I was there. And the one really memorable one was his wife, Judy Spencer. She caught wind of me just having this, evangelical spiritual awakening. I want to be a pastor, sell the pizza farm. That's what I was called to be, a pastor. I'd counseled young kids off drugs, did really good at it, was, graduated to a senior staff level. I felt like I could definitely pastor, be a pastor of some sort. And my pastor's wife took me outside and said, "Chris, can we just have a conversation?" I'm like, "Sure." And she's like, "I hear this excitement and it's awesome and I love it, and I see the Holy Spirit moving in you and this just coming out of you." I'm like, "Cool." And she said, "God needs pizza men too."
Oh.
The one thing she told me is when we get on the plane and go home and my husband sits down next to somebody and they ask him, because what they do, "Hey, what's your name and what do you do? Where are you from?" And he says, "Oh, my name's Gary and I'm a pastor in Melbourne, Florida," and the conversation kind of usually dies down pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. And Chris, if you're on that plane and they ask you what you do, and how's that conversation go after you tell them you own a couple restaurants, and it keeps going pretty strong and actually goes a little deeper, and what kind of restaurants and where are they and what kind of food and how many employees and what do you like and what's your favorite, and the conversation just keeps going, which is an opportunity to build a relationship. So it was at that point that I came back from Chicago and signed a covenant with my small group of men and my pastor that I no longer owned my business. This was God's business. I had completely surrendered this little post road location to him because I was trying like heck to make it happen. I was like, "God, this is yours. I'm going to be the best steward I can possibly be. Pizza man or server, busboy, dishwasher, whatever you want. But this is yours, and I'll just seek your wisdom every day to be that." And that led to just so many opportunities in serving my team, and it was when we grew to the Wickham Road location, built our own nice big 150-seat location there across from the King Center on Wickham Road, that I had hired a consultant, and we went down a road of developing our purpose and our values, some core values to the company and purpose, like mission statements kind of stuff, and came up with this purpose of we enrich our community. We enrich our community. And it just, after hours, we were in this room, in our private dining room for 2 days, probably a total of about 15 hours, just coming up with this one sentence: we enrich our community and provide incredible dining experiences. That's our mission. That's our purpose. But what people don't get is the part of we enrich our community. It's not about the guests. It's not about the customer. No, we're trying to enrich each other. I want you to focus on the guy next to you and him focus on the girl across the counter from her. If the host is enriching the server and the server is enriching the cook and the cook is enriching the dishwasher and the dishwasher is enriching the bartender, the guests are just going, "What is happening here?"
There you go.
See?
Serving my team and also seeing their brokenness and seeing a lot of me in them, because I started in the dish pit in a restaurant on the corner of A1A and Ocean Avenue, a little pizzeria down there. And drugs and alcohol are a huge part of our industry.
Yeah.
And brokenness, not just the drugs and alcohol, but paycheck to paycheck, single moms, broken families, abuse. So many things. And I say they're a part of our industry, not like we're any different. They're a part of every industry. They really are. It's not like the hospitality industry is the worst one out there, but it's pretty prevalent because the demographic is young people, and they're trying to find their way. Most of them are either not in college or, just a little bit lost, trying to figure out what's next. Not most of them, but some of them. And I could relate to so many of them. And Hospitality Life is a place that has resources online for them to seek relational, physical, mental, emotional, relational, resources. Just a ton that we have here in Brevard County that can help them in any one of those situations. And also some financial opportunities for them to get a leg up when they face some sort of hardship. They can apply on an application online for some financial assistance and go through Love Inc., who helps us vet those applications, and we will pay a bill for them. We'll help them get to the next paycheck through whatever crisis or hardship they're in right now.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what a ministry that most of those people wouldn't go into a church.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
so here the pizza man is reaching a whole group of people, which in turn is affecting the customers, right? So when people come into your place, they can tell there's a difference with the service and the staff and just the whole spirit of your restaurants.
And
we've all felt it.
Right. We felt it with a server that's like pissed off, upset. You don't know what's going on in their life.
No.
And it's like, that's going to create an atmosphere. It's like, I'm not coming back there.
Right.
But if you're handling it on the backside, what a healing for them.
I wish it was that good and that, but they're broken, I'm broken. We're all, trying to, do the right thing, make the right decisions. And our business, we're in the human business. We're not in the food business.
Sure.
We're serving people serving people, and all those people are broken. So there's so many opportunities to serve each other, serve somebody else, and really an opportunity for us to serve them. And I love it. And it's part of that spiritual gift that God blessed me with. I'm going to continue to share my faith, which is my number one gift, and that hospitality to serve them so they can serve others. And it's kind of the cliche or the catchphrase to Hospitality Life is serving those who serve others. Yeah.
Well, brother, we are just, I see, I talk a lot about, does someone see the light of Christ coming from you so they can understand the hope that we have? And buddy, since my time I've met you and worked with you and different projects we've worked on together, you inspire me, man. And I know you don't like hearing that, but you do. And we're just so thankful that you're here. And if you're in Brevard County, Florida, you haven't been to Pizza Gallery or 28 North, please stop by. Brunch is awesome on Sunday. Michael goes a lot for brunch. And check out Hospitality Life and just the wonderful things that are going on. If you have a story, guys, if you're listening, wives, if you're listening, if you have a story like Chris's, man, we want to hear it. Email us. Go to our website, impactministries.org, MPACTministries.org. You'll see our email address there. impactmen@impactministries.org. Also, check out, get your tickets for the Grace for the Family Experience on June 13th. We are now 4 months away. And we're going to pack the King Center and just celebrate fathers and family. It's Father's Day weekend, and we're going to have some incredible messaging, some incredible worship, and then, of course, I think everybody's kind of heard of Tim Tebow. Going to be giving a great message of hope for us as men, with our wives, with our kids, relationally with our own fathers and people that are mentors to us. So it'll be a lot of fun. Sheffy, we miss you. We will catch you next time, though. So until then, we got to sign off. I'm Trey.
I'm Michael.
I'm Brad.
And this is Chris in Sheffy's seat. We are the
Cussin Christians. So if you had a church or your restaurant, I would always look forward to communion, and I would hope you would have it every week.
Heck yeah.
At the Pizza Gallery. Can you imagine communion there?
Man.
Yeah, man.
Do Friday mornings at the men's group. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Daryl brings
Did
in
you
the communion.
Is this your recipe for the dough? Because it's obviously ain't Domino's,
Yeah.
and it ain't.
Yeah, I didn't know Domino's, but
We'll break the garlic knots.
Oh,
There you go.
There you go. The bomb.
Daryl brings in the little cups, and we do communion Friday
Okay.
mornings.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.